Zach, I remember last year in the spring, you were doing these sort of electronic YouTube posts and everything. And I remember being very devoted to those. I found something, they were so musical, and they were sort of helping me get through things, just watching you. And then this came up tonight too. My main big observation is all this sort of technical things that are so fascinating, but it's really the music, the amazing sounds that you guys create together. It's music first and foremost. And
Cool. Well,
there's
that,
Eli.
that was our goal. I mean, it's like really easy, especially because of how difficult it is to get some of these things happening. It's really easy to just get focused on the technical side of it, and then just be like, oh man, we've worked for 20 hours getting this to work. What about the music? You know what I mean? Like there's a that's a
And
big
I
part of
think,
the process.
like in the first piece, I was thinking of Nancaro,
Hmm.
who did this, who I actually met. I spent an afternoon with him several years ago, and
Oh,
he
that's
was
amazing.
so delightful. And it's his jazz background, I think, that informed those, these player piano pieces, all these complex rhythms. But you just want to get up and dance and just have a great time. But there's all this stuff going on, and I thought you guys brought that out too.
Oh, thank you.
That,
Uh,
that's interesting because when we were working on that particular piece, in addition to Nan Caro, it reminded me of someone who influenced Nan Caro was György Ligeti, and his piano pieces, and in particular, he had pieces for player piano where he kind of reinterpreted a lot of his stuff. And I found that I would program kind of these relatively simple patterns, but I found that I was like, oh, it was really sounding a lot like what those guys were doing. And they weren't working with computers, but kind of the musical, there's a kind of a convergence where the musical concerns were kind of coming together in a certain way. So that was really interesting.
mhm.
When you're on regular instruments or whatever, acoustical instruments, it's with a duo, it's about that chemistry. And you guys have that, even like in the last piece, like there's
Oh,
a,
thank you very much.
like a dialogue, and it becomes one, and it's
Well, we definitely, I remember Zach saying this explicitly, like we don't want to rehearse it too much, and we don't want to program it too much in the sense of knowing exactly when things are happening. We want it always to have a certain amount of improvisation and not knowing what's going to come out next. Some of that is built into the computer programs, in that there's some randomness, or you're not sure what's going to come out when you press the button. So but we, as jazz musicians, we thrive on that. So
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You're getting some great trumpet sounds. I think in the second piece, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just sort of like these colorful patches of sound, and again, going back and forth. And also, I think because we're virtual, the visual was entertaining too. It's
Yeah.
just really fun to see.
Thank you. Yeah, the trumpet piece, uh, rather than Ligeti in that piece, I was really thinking a lot of Terry Riley, because he had like the Poppy No Good pieces for soprano and tape, and so like part of the thing that he would do is he would run physical tape loops around that would be unusual lengths and overlapping, and that's a sound that I really like, and it because of a wind player, it seemed like a good starting point. So that was part of the inspiration for the trumpet piece.
Well, thank you both. That was terrific.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. So now we're in the intermission part of our evening. And before I introduce we're going to hear some testimonials from some of our students about BSM, and as we head into our performathon. But before that, I want to give you tonight's trivia question. if I can read it. Where did Louis Armstrong, who you know is a great jazz trumpet player, where did Armstrong get his first formal music training? That's a good question. Okay, so now on to our next intermission video. You're going to hear testimonials from some of our BSM students talking about their experience at the school. And this is like a prelude to our performathon, which, as you all know, is a major fundraising event at the school. It's a lot of fun. We get to see lots of performers and a lot of fundraising for scholarships. And that's exactly where the money goes. It goes to help students, no matter where they're from, their means, that they can come to the school and benefit from the school community, the educational opportunities, performance opportunities. So I'm going to let our students take over, and I'll stop talking.
Hi, my name is Tristan, and I'm a senior percussionist in the Bloomingdale School of Music MAP program. To me, the Bloomingdale School of Music is more than just a space for musicians. The school holds an absolutely stellar group of individuals. You're learning from the second that you step in the building or a Zoom call to the second that you leave. Once you join this group of individuals, you have the opportunity to learn more about music as well as embrace your individuality through performance. Every person here holds incredible character tied together by a passion for art. I personally have become a more dedicated, passionate, and holistic person myself, and this growth has come from using music in my everyday life as well as to connect with other people. This community of artists is as strong as ever, and be it through Zoom or in person, musicians will continue to thrive.
My name is Sarah, and I'm a pianist in the MAP program at Bloomingdale School of Music. As a student at Bloomingdale, I have the opportunity to study privately, as well as access to music theory classes, chamber music classes, and forums. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I am studying remotely this school year, but I love how the school continues to make remote classes engaging. For instance, my piano teacher, Judith Olson, continues to challenge me with harder pieces and independent work. I'm really grateful for all the effort the Bloomingdale community puts into keeping music alive during these challenging times.
The music community at the Bloomingdale School of Music is like no other community that I've been a part of. The faculty and staff really care about each and every one of their students, and they make sure that everyone has the resources they need to become the best musicians that they can be. The supportive environment at Bloomingdale also allows students to be themselves and develop a strong sense of identity as an artist. Because of this, Bloomingdale has not only allowed me to grow substantially as a musician, but it's also helped me grow into the person that I am today.
Great, thank you, students. So eloquently put. So we have the information about the performathon. We can post it in the chat, or there'll be more screens coming up later in the show. So thank you, the three of you, for your testimonials. Now we move on to the second half of our program tonight, which is called Midnight in Paris. We're going to hear some beautiful French music by Daniel Lamas, violist, and Weiwei Zai, pianist. Bravo. That was just great. Daniel Lamas and Weiwei Zai. I'd like to invite them to unmute themselves so we can talk for a moment about your program.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so
Hi,
much for
Daniel.
having
Hi,
us.
Weiwei. Great to see you.
Hi, thank you so
Fantastic.
much. Thank you.
Wow, we were lifted off our seats at the end of Franck.
Thank you so much.
That
Thank
was
you for
just-
having us. It was such a fun program to work on and to present.
What I really liked about it, besides your incredible chemistry together, it's like pieces we don't get to hear. It's wonderful to hear Darius Mio and Nadia Boulanger, who we know more as a teacher, but what a great piece. And the Franck, which I'm more used to hearing on violin or cello, and I love it on the viola.
Thank you.
I love that range and how expressive you brought it out. I just wanted to ask just a general question about why you selected these particular pieces and putting them together in such a wonderful grouping.
Daniel, do you
Well,
want to start?
sure, I'll start. So we feel that when we were coming up with an idea for a program, we thought, with everything that's going on, what better way to, take us away from reality, from everything than our imagination. And we thought, what better than having a very imaginative program for our audience. And again, the Boulanger is such a imaginative piece, right? You see how it really takes you on a journey, and then Mio, of course, he if you see it's actually, he takes it back to, it's a, how do you call it? It's like not a copy, but it's a it's in the style of like a Baroque piece. So he takes us to the past. Boulanger is, in the present. For us, Boulanger is very much, when you listen to the pieces, for me, it was like, so you're walking down in Paris and it's raining and you're trying to, it's very imaginative. Of course, Franck being such a beautiful romantic piece, and especially the last movement being this triumphant, heroic piece full of hope. So we thought that would be something very interesting to present.
And it's fascinating to hear how they all write for the two instruments, so
Yeah.
quite differently. And
Mm-hmm.
Weiwei, what was, were there any particular challenges in these pieces for ensemble? It sounded so effortless and beautiful.
Well, there are definitely some challenges because two of the pieces are not originally written for viola. One is originally for violin, and the Boulanger was actually original for organ. And then it was
Oh,
transcribed to cello and piano, and then the updated to the viola version. So we're really trying to work with the range of the instrument and bring out the warmth and the depth of the instrument between the viola and piano, which sometimes could be a challenging. And Daniel did a lot of editing, which is did such a great job on that. And but it's been really fun to work on that aspect. And yeah. And also to finding our rehearsal places during the pandemic. It is also a challenge. But thank you for Bloomingdale to supporting us to be able to make this happen. And we really appreciate the space and the recording and everything. Yeah.
thank you. So you've brought to light some new pieces for us. That Boulanger sounds like it was written for viola and piano.
Thank you.
Whatever you guys
I
did.
appreciate that.
And that, for me, particularly that second movement, really spectacular, just so evocative. And it's kind of fun when you add to the repertoire pieces that were not originally intended for this combination.
Yeah, no,
But
it's always fun. It's always fun to discover new pieces. I mean, there's so many works out there that have been transcribed or not performed, or seldomly performed, like the Boulanger and even the Mio. It's so fun to be able to discover this and present this to an audience. It's really, really wonderful. And to, again, when there's not too many recordings, except, you're the cello recordings of the Boulanger, you really have to discover exactly what she wrote and everything from the score, and you really make it your own, which is such a wonderful, wonderful process.
Great. Well, thank you both very, very much for your music
Thank you.
making and for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you to our audience tonight. Some of you who posted where you were from. We have audience from New York City, including Harlem, Portland, Oregon, and Los Angeles. So it's been a really fun part of doing our series is meeting people from different parts of the country and even the world. My trivia question was where Louis Armstrong got his first musical education, and it was actually in a juvenile detention hall. Apparently, when he was, I think he was 11 years old, he used his stepfather's gun and fired a blank into the air on New Year's Eve, 1912. So he spent the night in New Orleans juvenile court, then was sentenced to a home for boys, detention home. And